Welcome to the Austen Tayshus podcast. And it's a privilege to have such a well-known paparazzo with us. And, we just talked to Charlie Waterstreet, which was illuminating.
Good.
It's been a day of controversy, let me say that. And one thing that
I might need a barrister on standby to just double check any defamatory nature, but we are satirical here. This is not meant to have a go at anyone, because we're going to talk about some topics that perhaps people get a bit upset about.
Well, that's right, but it's all in good fun. It's all ironic. That's the way Charlie put it. So it's all irony. So there's no need to misinterpret. So I was just going to say, I'm going to start off by saying, you made a comment in that text that you sent me about how everyone's a paparazzi now. Everybody's a paparazzi because everybody's got their phone with them all the time, and everybody is capable of taking. So it's a difficult time to stand out, even as a photographer in any sort of any type of photographer, a fashion photographer, or a landscape photographer, or anything. It's hard to stand out. So.
Yeah, it is. Everyone's a paparazzi. Everyone's got a mobile phone. Every news, TV broadcast, newspaper, magazine runs Instagram, runs phone pictures, runs it all. There's so much content out there, and you do have to do something to stand out. And normally, that's where we perhaps come into a few of the battles over the years, because we are trying to find something that's extraordinary.
Yeah, and it's hard to make money out of it. Obviously, you have to get that incredible shot to get the cash. Like that shot of the Duke of Edinburgh through the car window. That was an incredible. I don't know how much that guy got for that, but that was an incredible photo. The last photo of him,
Well, that's right. Yeah, I've never been one to go after the last photos of people, but certainly I've heard people say that. But I'd rather not think about them as their demise. I think you make more money out of them when they're alive, and in death. If you happen to have the last photo, I guess you're going to make a mozza. But I'm happy to have you take the last photo of me.
Well, that was an incredible photo, wasn't it? It's an incredible photo. Hey?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
incredible.
He was an amazing individual who really, I think people now perhaps understand a little bit more in death. I don't know whether we'll understand it. Celebrity fits lots of things, from royals to entertainers to sports stars to politicians. Everyone's fair game in this day and age, but the royals certainly are a whole different thing. And over the years, I've photographed many of the royals, and I don't think I've ever really come into trouble because of that, but certainly the potential to get into trouble taking photos of royals with security guards and police officers and royal protection squads and whatnot. You've got to carry a plethora of passes around your neck these days, and I think that they'd probably want to use them to choke you more than they would to check on them.
So what was the best photo that you took of that family, of the Windsors? What's the best one you've taken? What was the most difficult one then, or whatever?
I wasn't around when the Diana phase was happening. I was reasonably new, but the first royal I ever took a photograph of was Zara Phillips, the Queen's granddaughter, and I turned up down in Watson's Bay, and there was an old photographer who you may know called Peter Correct, a guy with a ponytail, not unlike you.
No, I know him. I know him well. Yeah, I know him very well.
With a blue Pontiac and a hot girlfriend. And he was taking a photo, and I leaned over his shoulder to see what he was doing, and I thought, gee, he must be doing something important. I grabbed my camera and he said, well, what's going on there? Just must be interesting. And he said, well, I'm going to buy that roll of film off you. And he wrote me a check right on the spot for $3,000. And he went up to Blinkies in King's Cross, and he had them all edited. And I'm sure he made 30,000 out of them. But it set me on a path with understanding the paparazzi game when, this rather sort of crazy old fellow was running around with his camera. And he used to have he was from London, and he had a bit of a swagger about him, and he used to say, hello London, here we come.
Hello London, hello mate, hello Jamie, how you going mate? I knew him very well,
That
Peter Corrett.
is,
I knew him very well. Ah, mate, how's it going, mate? All right, mate. All good, mate. But unfortunately, he died quite a long time ago now. But
he did. He was carried out of,
yeah.
yeah,
I think he
carried
overdosed.
out of an
Overdosed.
apartment. Yes. Well, there was a suggestion that there was some drugs involved and everything else. And, you know, I mean, Peter used to love giving gifts of photo books. And if you leaf through them far enough, you might find a little surprise.
Oh, well, yeah, he was certainly involved in that. He certainly was involved in the drug world a little bit. I knew one of the girls that he was with a lot called Jane Buckland, and she, unfortunately, she died as well. She was a model. And
Oh, may they both rest in peace. I learned a lot of Peter.
yeah, that's right. So, he was the king of the paparazzi back then, wasn't he? Was that
Absolutely. We called him the grandfather of paparazzi.
Oh, right. So he was the first great Australian paparazzo.
I have no argument with that. I don't think anyone else would. He was certainly a character.
So, so you started in what's in the 90s? Is that when you started?
No, I started in the late 90s.
The late 90s, okay.
The late 90s. I used to be a crime writer, and you know, I used to run around at night trying to find crime stories around King's Cross and various places. And you know, you always needed a photo to back up the story. And if you didn't have the photo of the guy getting handcuffed or the gun getting taken out of his inside jacket, or, you know, being reluctantly dragged into the back of the paddy wagon. And I used to, you know, go down to News Limited and take my film, and I used to make me edit it myself. And, you know, then they'd make an offer for the picture, and, you know, away it went. But I quickly learned that the best photos were not actually the ones that were photographically the best. They just had to have the scandal and the palaver of the situation, and you know, a little bit of action. And you hoped those days, out of all the photos you took with film, that you had the right image. And you know, again, I won't on to harp on about Peter, but he taught me about getting that right image. And of course, now everything's digital, and that's the problem, because everyone takes 100 photos, and you know, the subjective nature of the photography is no longer like it was when you were out and you know, 2 frames, and you had to put a roll of film into a machine and hope to God you didn't stuff it up.
But
that was your payday.
Yeah, but I see you around everywhere with your camera, and you know, and you're always looking for Sacha Baron Cohen or whoever it is, and so I mean, you've just got to catch them. You've got to be secretive, and you've got to catch them in a moment that is, I guess, unusual or whatever.
I mean, I don't think secretive is. Everyone thinks that it's sort of a clandestine activity, but more often than not, we're hiding in plain sight. We're certainly waiting for our moment to pounce, you know, on people as they sort of, you know, go about their business. But I mean, you don't necessarily want to interfere with their dynamic. You actually want to capture something that's perhaps a little bit more real, or a moment of someone struggling with a shopping trolley, like, you know, if you've got Nicole Kidman going to the Woolies, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't, because I've never taken a photo of her at Woolies, but you know, you want to know that she's having trouble wrangling the kids and getting the shopping trolley going in the right direction, and put the groceries in the car, and maybe even see what she's got in a shopping trolley. That's the sort of stuff that people feel like they're getting a little bit of a glimpse into their lifestyles and the sort of things that they're doing, that somehow make it balance up against their own lifestyles. And, you know, other times it's about a new boyfriend or engagement ring. We're always surprised when we look at the pictures a little bit later and go, oh, no wonder they paid that much for those pictures. There was an engagement ring. You know, the sort of mistakes that you'd make as a young guy selling your pictures for too little money because you didn't realize what actually you had in them. Or there might be a nipple slip or a pair of undies on display. And I mean, you're not setting out to do that, but that's the thing that catches people a little bit unaware.
Yeah, but earlier on, you got in a lot of trouble with all these people, particularly with her, didn't you? That was the main with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, I mean, everyone likes to start with this story. Let's hope we don't end.
I don't. That's not actually my point, really. But what my point is that what I'm trying to get at is that at the beginning of your career, you got into more trouble because maybe you were more secretive, or maybe you were more pushy, or more of a pest, or whatever it was. But and yet you become more human now, I guess. Have you? I guess.
Oh, I think I'm more human now. Yes, you know, kids and cats and dogs will do that to you. But I mean, that wasn't actually the beginning of my career, because I mean, one of the very first photos that I took after Zara Phillips was Tom Cruise, and he was here making Mission Impossible and so on, and he was always very accommodating, and that continues to this day. I've never had a problem with Tom, but certainly, if the more successful you were and the more hungry you were for pictures, the more likelihood that you would come under fire for perhaps the seemingly being omnipresent in their lives. And to be honest with you, you know, there was so much to shoot in those days, as there is now, because we've got a plethora of celebrities residing down here in Sydney at the moment due to COVID. But there were so many films being made in Australia in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s. And you had actors like Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves, Quentin Tarantino was here. I'm trying to think of the Irish fella who come to me. But look, there were so many.
Jim Owen.
Jim Owen was here. The one I still can't think of his name. I've memory deficit.
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. That's the one who was, you know, and of course, you know, there were always rumours that Nicole Kidman was having an affair with this person or that person, and you had to be out late at night. One night I got Robbie Williams and Nicole Kidman out late at night, and boy, did I pay the price for that, because, you know, they were both reasonably private individuals, and, you know, meeting up in little hotels down dark alleys with burly security guard, or you wanted to be able to run quickly and get out of there, because, you know, you got those pictures and they want them out. And
so what happened? What happened there?
Well, this is where a lot of this stuff stems from, because you get into a potential situation where they go, oh, we won't leave me alone. Well, I don't think that I ever spent an inordinate amount of time on any particular celebrity, but over the weeks and the months that follow, you would actually follow up on the story. Other photographers would get in there. So they'd single one out to try and get that photographer in a bit of hot water and try and, you know, cut their wings. And of course, the magistrates up there at Waverley were always good. I remember there was one magistrate, Lee Gilchrist, used to say, well, how far do you need to be away to take that photo? And I'd go, oh, you know, 10 meters. And she'd say, well, let's give them 5 while we just sort out this. And so the magistrates saw it very much as the cat and mouse game that it was, and never took it too seriously, because in those early days, they were using the very early legal jargon of AVOs and whatnot to try and control their public presence. And of course, you know, whatever you do in public, you, me, whatever included, there's no tort of privacy in this country in terms of that, and there's no real expectation of privacy in a public place. Every time we walk past a building in Sydney, we're on cameras. And I think that that's actually a good thing, because it's sort of like, it helps you and it keeps us all honest, and it keeps the crims honest, it keeps the people honest. You could have a look around. So I think that what the celebrities were trying to do was to control their image. Many of them thought that they'd come back to Australia, like Elle Macpherson, and it was holiday time and suddenly there wouldn't be any photographers. But the world became a very smaller place for celebrities and models, and we quickly had to re-educate them. But just because you came home, there were paparazzi here, and it was our job to continue to feed that demand that would happen for when celebrities came home. And of course, we've got this beautiful beaches, beautiful Sydney Harbour. It's an absolute magnet to celebrities to go out there these days in a super yacht, and, you know, maybe they're, you know, sunbaking topless on the boat, or they're having one too many drinks. I took a photo with Keith Richards one day where we took it at a certain time throughout the day, and gradually the last one was him staggering across the park with a bottle of bourbon or vodka or whatever it was, and they did a feature like that. So, you know, every celebrity that comes to Sydney ends up out on the harbour. I've been out on the harbour shooting pictures today.
And with who was that?
Well, I can't say actually, and I was going to broach this with you, but the one thing that I did explain to these people who were here looking at various things was that the number of locations where certain pictures had been taken, and one of them that came up was at Kerry Packer's funeral. And of course, you know, it was a very somber occasion, and the big Arctic P was parked in the middle of the boat over near Athol Bay. And of course, you know, James Packer and Erica Packer, his then wife, were out after the funeral on the boat. Lachlan and Sarah Murdoch and Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. And there's this picture of them all on the boat immediately after the funeral. Tom's in a pair of board shorts, Katie's in a Burberry swimming costume, 7 months pregnant, and everyone else is wearing suits. And to top it off, there's some body doubles there for Tom and Katie, and they're wearing swimming costumes, and everyone else is suited up, following a somber occasion. And Tom's on the side of the boat going, "Hey, I'm Tom," and Katie's there looking like a thing's blowing up and whatnot. And you know, a number of the photographers shot pictures that day, one of which took the ferry to and back, and every time the ferry would go past, he took some pictures. But those photos sold extremely well because we got them out, and everyone was interested in Tom and Katie and the pregnancy, and they hadn't seen her in a swimming costume for the whole time, but they either felt safe down in Sydney. And I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, they didn't give a rat's ass about being photographed, but it was at the end of the day when James Packer said to me, he said, "Mate, have you got enough pictures now?" And I had a problem, because if I was going to sell to News Limited, I had to take pictures without Lachlan and Sarah. And if I was going to sell to ACP, which was Packer's business, they didn't want to run James and Erica. And I'm, you know, the difficulties that we can't explain to them is that we're trying to isolate all these people to get pictures. And, you know, it was just a bizarre situation. And that's the sort of thing that happens on Sydney Harbour. I mean, there's no, I'd say, I was about to say there's nowhere else like it except for the south of France, which again provides that sort of impetus for celebrities on yachts and other bits and pieces. But including once again, James Packer, when he was going out with Mariah Carey. Yeah. And, you know, for 2 years, they were cruising around the south of France, having a good time. And all the French photographers were getting a bit upset with me because they go, "Oh, you got so close." And I'm going, "Well, yeah, I want the best photo." And they go, "Oh, no, we have a rule. We don't go." And I'm standing there with James Packer one night, and Mariah's, you know, waiting to get off the yacht. And of course, she'd be on the tender. She would take her time. He would stand there for 20 to 30 minutes on the island of Capri waiting for her, or in Saint-Tropez, and she'd come dressed photo ready. She loved the pictures. And poor old James, you know, to stand there on the wharf having and
Andrew, I just come and check. I'm losing you a bit here, Jamie. I'm losing. It's frozen a bit, but it's also not. It's not. I don't know whether it's his connection or mine.
We're already. Oh, that's frozen, isn't it?
Have you got a good? Can you hear me, Jamie? Have you got a good Wi-Fi there? Hello?
No. Can you hear me?
There we go. Hello? No, it's breaking. It's breaking. It's still frozen. It's still frozen. It's just your image is frozen. I'm just wondering about your Wi-Fi. Is it a good Wi-Fi you got there? Hey?
Let me just grab another Wi-Fi. Just 1 second.
He's gone to grab another Wi-Fi. That's what you hear that?
I can't hear it now.
What does that mean? Grab another? He must have another.
I don't know what he means.
Yeah. Just sit here for a second.
Yeah. Well. Bandwidth is low, yeah.
It's going good. It's going. It's a nice thing. It's good. It's
Yeah.
going well.
Yeah,
Hey?
but it sounds good too. But he's saying his bandwidth is low.
Yeah, that means it's a bad connection.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. So
Maybe he's on his phone or something.
hey,
Maybe he's on his phone or something.
he's going to get something else.
Let me get my phone out 2 seconds.
What's that going to do?
I need it.
I'm going to go for about another 15. That's all I'm going to do. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to say that I'm going to say noise is coming up. So, hey, hello.
I'm back.
Oh, great. So you've got an. Oh, that's good. Well, that's okay. Okay.
I will swap to the other Wi-Fi. Let's not.
Okay. So you've got an. Have you got an NBN there?
I do, but that's what I'm using, and it's not
Oh,
working.
okay. Wonder why.
I've got satellite. That's why.
Oh, okay.
It's all right. We'll.
That's
be good.
Is that good now? Is that good now? Yeah, it should be good. Yeah. All right. All right.
I'm just going to swap it over.
Okay. Okay.
And that should be much better.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you. So what was the just sit here for a sec. So what was the best? What was the most money you've made out of a photo?
Oh, again, everyone.
No, I know. Oh, look, it's just it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever. But I'm just interested because, well, I mean, it's your job, and that's the incentive, really, isn't it?
Well, it is. But let me preface you with let's fast forward to today.
Yeah.
Today's pictures are not necessarily about the money, because we
bucks,
no longer
yeah.
make those big bucks.
Right.
And there certainly was a time where we were making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 off a set of pictures that we'd work on for a week, and we'd get these pictures.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of occasions of that. And of course, in amongst all that, you've got to pay your tip, your lawyer, your agent, and all
Sure.
the fracas that follows, and maybe you get sued, and you're not supposed to be peering over that fence and other bits and pieces, and particularly if you're overseas. So, but look, I mean, there have been sets of pictures over the years that myself and other photographers have made hundreds of thousands of dollars out of, and I mean. And people that are into that sort of thing will say, oh well, that's ridiculous, and other bits and pieces. But it used to sell magazines. Now the thing is that the magazines don't sell anymore. The circulations have dropped. We used to give away web rights. Now we actually sell 24-hour exclusives online of pictures. And it's not necessarily about having something exclusively. It can be about having something that's called an all-rounder. So it'll go all around the world. And basically you want to end up with every London newspaper. Now, the day that Kylie Minogue announced that she had breast cancer, I had shot a set of pictures of her that morning with Olivia Martinez skipping stones down at French's Island in Melbourne, and that announcement hadn't been made yet. I'd actually sold those pictures just hours before, so I had to then go and unsell them and say, and the only way I could do that is say, well, you can all have them for free because I'm charging everyone else now. So, that was certainly a situation where, by circumstances of the news cycle changing, or the actual reason why people wanted pictures, everyone wanted pictures then because Kylie Minogue went into isolation. Now, I'm pretty sure that because she's the type of person that wouldn't have objected. Those pictures, they had no idea that they were being taken, but they were very beautiful and poignant at that moment. And it showed her in a rare private moment in the middle of a crisis, a personal health crisis. So, when you make a few $100,000 out of that sort of set of pictures, you consider yourself very lucky, and you go and buy some new equipment and maybe, pay off the kids' school fees, or, I've never been one into largesse. So it wasn't that I'd go and piss it up against the wall. It was something that that allowed you a bit of a break. I mean, we've worked pretty hard over the years. I turned 60 on the weekend. I don't look that old. I know you probably similar age. But the Botox help, I was taken down to a Botox clinic, and the first person I run into was a model down there. And I thought, gee, I should be not getting the Botox. I should be popping myself outside to take a photo of outside a cosmetic clinic. But look, the money is not there these days. I mean, it's still a lifestyle job. It's a lifestyle job. If you're a musician, you want to write pretty songs. If you're a photographer, you want to take great pictures. If you're a builder, you want to go to build fences.
If you're a comedian, you want to make people laugh. But we're in show business. You're in the same business that I'm in, and the money might be intermittent, and it might last for 2 seconds. But that's our business,
Yeah, that's right. So we've had to learn a few tricks. I mean, everyone's got new catchwords and things. We've had to learn how to pivot out of COVID, and we've started websites and done all sorts of things. I mean, the new reality stars. I mean, I've been thankful for the amount of new movie stars that are actually here, because when I hear the word reality star, and I mean, unfortunately, we've had to shoot a lot of reality stars to pay the bills. And certainly since, magazines have gone downward spiral, we've had websites like the Daily Mail come here. The Daily Mail's great for business. The amount of people that read the Daily Mail on a daily basis in Australia is ridiculous, but no one knew what it was here 10 years ago.
Yeah, so it's like a boom time in Australia for paparazzi, really, and it can only get better probably over the next 2 years anyway.
Well, I think we're all set for the next few years. I mean, we've been training up new guys, and if anyone's listening to this podcast and just wants to become a paparazzi, learning, maybe you've got some connections,
So yeah, and most of those people that are in Sydney at the moment, they're fairly amenable. I mean, I've never really been, as a celebrity myself, and have been a celebrity myself, I've never really been able to understand what the problem is having your photo taken. I mean, I can understand if you don't want to have your children taken, if you're worried about security or something like that, or you don't want you don't want that. But if you're a movie star, or if you're a famous comedian, or you're a famous whatever, having your photo taken can only be a bonus.
Well, that's right. As you know, I'll come to you first. I mean, I've been driving around the eastern suburbs over many years, and I yell out obscenities at you and try and get you to react. I've never sold it. I think I sold one once, but as far as the kids go, I mean, these days people, we know whose children are going to openings and when they put them on Instagram, and we know which celebrities are okay with that. But there are certainly celebrities that don't like their kids in there, and I think that's where you've got to be reasonably mature and accommodating. But it's not as hit and miss as you might think. I mean, we do have a general understanding about who is acceptable with children and who's not, and so on and so forth. But the celebrities that come here down under these days are pretty happy to be here, certainly during COVID. I think that if you don't sort of like park outside someone's house every day and do the same thing, you've got to cut them a bit of a break. And the same, I've done that on more than, numerous occasions, where you say, you've only just got to say, give us a day off. But we have a plethora of celebrities here now. They're all making movies. They're all happy. They're probably all making good money, irrelevant as that is. But we're getting plenty of content, and that content is now starting to.
So were you there on the wharf yesterday? Was that you?
No, I wasn't. It was my birthday.
Oh, right. So happy birthday.
Thank you. 60 years old, and had a little bit of Botox. I might have mentioned that.
Yeah, you did. But you look good. You look good, Jamie. So
look, I mean, that photo was great. I mean, personally, I would have run that as a 6-star restaurant, because Sacha Baron Cohen there, Isla Fisher, Christian Bale, Russell Crowe. Look, Russell has certainly been entertaining all of those celebrities while he's been here. Certainly, he's been bike riding with Rita Ora on more than one occasion. Russell does like to show people around, take them to the footy. and teach them a little bit of Australiana. And maybe you should get that Austen Tayshus release back out there, because I play it to people. And, you know, I have to remind some of the young kids, you know, how funny that was. And that's when I first got to know you. And I cannot tell you how many times I've said to visiting people, let me play you this. And mate, they're on the floor in stitches. And, you know, as much as anything else, when people come here, like Russell Crowe showing celebrities around, I want to teach them a little bit about Australia, about what we do differently. And I remember turning up at the airport and photographing Vin Diesel, and he said, "Oh, mate, nice ride." And he said, "If you let me drive your car, I'll give you a photo." And so I took him up to the rocks at Dover Heights and stuck him on a cliff top, and you know, he was happy to have his photo taken, but he wouldn't do that.
Thanks very much. Yeah, really good. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
But you know, we're very lucky here. Everybody comes here, you know, good and bad. I mean, there's been some horror.
Yeah, like which ones are you talking about that have been horrible?
Oh, you Chris Brown, rappers, Tigger or Tiger or whatever his name is. He used to go out with one of the Kardashians. I mean,
Right.
I can't remember ever going and buying a Tigger Tiger album, but
Yeah.
I mean, apparently, you know, he didn't need much. He had a couple of buffy security guys, big, large men from America. I did try to tell them that it wasn't okay to assault me, but they weren't particularly interested. But
were you assaulted?
Oh, I've been assaulted a few times.
Yeah.
You know, it comes with the territory. I'm not one to go running off to the police and going, you know, I'm good. For my age, even now, I reckon I can run quicker than any other photographer. So, you know, there's a time when you realize that you've got caught, and there's a look in their eyes that happens, and they go, "Oh my God," you know, and that happens. I don't know whether you remember pictures of Paris Hilton and a former Australian Idol contestant, Robert Mills. I mean,
don't remember her. I know her very well. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and you know, Paris was fat. In fact, you know, she used to ring us more often than not when she was here to tell us where she was going to be, who she was going to be with. She introduced us to this young girl called Kim Kardashian all those years ago. No one knew who she was. That woman is now a billionaire because of it.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, you know, Michael Jackson's wedding here, Elton John's wedding. I mean, you know, we've had some incredible moments down under that you know, if the paparazzi weren't there, and we're as much documenting the social history and entertainment history of Australia as anyone else. I mean, you know, there were great rock and roll photographers, David Mott and, you know, those types of guys that would go out and photograph the bands. That was great. But celebrities thought that wasn't part of the thing. But all entertainment people these days are being photographed. And they walk out the door or get off the plane knowing that they're going to be photographed.
Yeah.
And, you know, Peter Corrett used to have an old adage. He said, if you don't want to be photographed, become a butcher. No one photographs butchers. And I mean, you know, it's true. No one photographs their local butcher, but they're used to it now. They're taught that this is what it is. Social media has made such an impact into the lives of celebrities and their followers. They interact with their fans now. You know, they can block them, stop them, do whatever. But you know, the whole way that the celebrity is followed, it's all driven by, you know, the clothes they're wearing, the bags they're carrying, the cars they're driving, the songs, the music they're listening to, and like, you know, if you don't have to have a brain, you just go, oh, well, I like what she likes, and I'll have what she's having. And so the aspirational nature of what's going on is driven by marketing, it's driven by desire, want, and everything else. And we're part of the problem. We feed that. You know, we know our photos are dissected. She wore that dress, she had that bag, she had the latest Nike runners, Air Jordans, whatever. And, you know, that's all part of it. It's all part of marketing and advertising.
Well, that's
And,
what, you got the whole influencer thing, that's what that's all about, image and presentation, etc., on Instagram or whatever it is. It's all publicity.
yeah,
It's all publicity, and all adds to their, to your, it adds to you, and it adds to your, what your financial status, and it adds to their financial status. I don't see how there's any problem with it, but some people are just.
yeah, a lot's changed now, and I think that it's far more acceptable as a profession. I mean, there's still only a handful of people doing it in this country, but of course everyone does have the iPhone. So in that sense, as we started with, everyone is a paparazzi, but sometimes they don't know what to do with the pictures. They stick it on their Instagram and the magazines go, oh, great, that's a free photo. And off they go. So, the smart money would work out a way to deal with that. But, it's there's no privacy.
There's no privacy.
In your own four walls. In your own four walls. In your
Yeah.
own four walls. That's it.
Yeah. That's right. But I don't care about that. I've never worried about that. But and a lot of people I know in the game don't worry about it. But a lot of people, I mean, remember Russell used to get very upset at the beginning there, and.
I've always had a pretty good relationship with him, and I must say that there's been a couple of sketchy moments. One of when I went up for his wedding, and of course all the journos have turned up in town and photographers, and I'm down at the local cafe, and someone's walked in and he said, are you a journo or a photographer? And I went, yeah, I'm here for Russell's wedding. Next thing, bang, bang.
Oh, really?
It was his brother, Terry.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks, Terry. I remember. Russell would never have a fisticuff with you, despite the fact that they did then follow up with a French program came here to do Russell Crowe's greatest fights, which I think you can find on YouTube. They interviewed us. But I mean, honestly, we've never, Russell's a deep thinker, and I think he's more a lover these days than a fighter. So.
He is, yeah. Well, I've known him as long as you have, probably, and I've seen him go through all of that stuff. But I think he's settled down. But he's nearly 60, mate. Aren't you 60?
I am.
You look a lot younger because you've had Botox, apparently.
Right.
I don't know if Russell gives a shit. Russell's got that fucking giant thing going on there, whatever.
I'm not sure what's going on there, but people used to say he wore the same clothes every day, so the photos are worth nothing. To be honest with you, I mean, he did occasionally change his socks and undies and other bits and pieces, but it never did anything not to sell the pictures. But he's a good actor. He's
more than a good actor. He's a great actor. He's an outstanding actor, really outstanding. All you have to do is look at LA Confidential. He's like he's a powerhouse. He's a wound up watch. He's just about to explode. He's a unique individual, that guy.
And of course, he loves to walk around Sydney, ride his push bike, walk out, and I guess that he just doesn't want to feel like he's a piece of meat when he's walking up the road, that it's not, the photographers aren't wringing their hands. More often than not, we toot, wave, whatever, get on your way, and that's the way it is. But if you put a pretty girl with him, and lately, of course, there's been a couple of pretty girls around him, he's actually been okay with that. So I think Rita Ora the other day was a little more embarrassed when Russell took a bike riding around Sydney, and but I mean, she's been having a fun time here, and she's occasionally been snapped with a little bikini on, or she's here for a reality program. This thing of reality now. I don't have that much time to watch reality programs, but apparently there's a couple of programs that you get married on, you learn to sing. She's on the one where you go from singing in the shower to singing on the TV. And she's been here in a beautiful $35,000 a week mansion, while everyone else in the UK has been locked down in their prison. And we're here having a good time. And they've been
it's not a bad thing, is it? It's not a bad thing.
It's a great thing. Love it. Yeah.
So, lately, you haven't had any big fracas anywhere in the last few years, really, have you?
Well, not with celebrities, but I am recently divorced.
Well, there you go. Then well, having been through that myself, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's not the happiest thing, but got to love your children. So that's
Yes,
the main
correct.
thing. That's
Yeah,
the main
I
thing.
agree with you. You know, there's been some very interesting times over the years, and I have actually thought about putting them down in a book. But you've got to find the right moment, the right time, because I think I might have to give up a few secrets. And I always thought about, you know, if you see that celebrity, and I'm not talking about, you know, nocturnal activities per se or what goes on late in the underbelly of Sydney. But, you know, I was once photographing a young girl and Keanu Reeves on a balcony at the Key Grand in Sydney while he was here. And I wasn't so much worried about him. I was thinking I knew the young lady and I thought, what would her mother say? So, you know, with age, I guess, becomes a little wisdom. And, you know, not every time is a photo opportunity. But when you get a group of people together that provides a certain dynamic and they're all dressed up or they're all maybe dressed down or, you know, they've had a skinful of booze or whatever, or they're coming off a yacht, you know, there's a photo to be had. I don't make the decision what to publish, but there are people out there that's their job. They're called photo editors. And if they decide that it's worth publishing, you know, we get this list of requirements from a lawyer that says, you know, what time of the day, what lens did you use? Did you have to climb any fences or, you know, were you in a helicopter? Did you use a drone and all of those things? So we have a lot more legalese to go through these days in terms of, you know, what's acceptable and what not. But sometimes it amazes me that despite all of that, you know, the words, she was seen with her ample assets on display, or she flaunted her pert derriere. I mean, this is a whole language that has left me wondering in these woke times whether or not it's entirely appropriate. You know, she was seen braless with her nips on display. And I'm thinking, I've never put that in a caption. Like, I don't write, there was Sandy Goodman walking down the street. I think he had no underpants on.
You would have been right. Yeah.
Well, you and Greg Norman, now, you know, recall that photo of him walking down a beach in Florida with his dog that went viral because he might have been showing his sizable manhood.
Oh, right. No, I didn't.
He's coming back to live in Australia.
Yeah.
There's some competition for you.
Yeah. No, well, I never worry about competition, mate.
Good on you. Yeah.
That's me. But anyway, listen, mate, I do have to make a move because I've got Philip Noyce on the line here.
Fabulous.
So and this is the second time we've talked to him actually, but and it was his birthday yesterday. He was 71 yesterday, Philip.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah, but mate, listen, mate, I think we've covered everything anyway. But it's been a fantastic chat, and hopefully I will see you at Nielsen Park.
I look forward to it, Sandy, and thank you. I hope that people enjoy finding a little bit more about Australia's paparazzi.
Well, I'm sure it was very enlightening, mate. It was very enlightening. Thank you very much.
Great. Ciao now.
Take care, man. See you, mate.